Welcome to Marsha's Plate. This is an interview episode where we talk to friends, family, other community members, and anybody else we want to talk to. Hey brother, hey brother, hey sister, hey sister, hey sibling, how are you? Hey brother, hey brother, hey sister, hey sibling, how are you? Hey, how you been doing? Just checking in today. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your girl Diamond. So I am bringing somebody that I've been wanting to interview for a while because I have been seeing them in the art space and in the activist space for a long time. And I hit them up a couple of years ago, and I think because we hadn't connected as friends, my message didn't come through. And
And I'm
so,
bad at checking those. I'm sorry.
recently I was like, hey, I want to, because I have a list, like a master list of people who I want to talk to. And so I was like, let me go back to my list and see who I have. And I was like, let me hit him up and see if he has some time for me. And he has some time for me. So I want to welcome Jamel Young.
Yeah. What's up, y'all? What's up? Jamel or D Jamel, I'm also known by. But thank you, Diamond, for inviting me to this space. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for just making time for me. I think I got introduced to you probably maybe like 10 years ago when they launched Eden's Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about that, but before we get into that, I want to talk about like where you grew up and who was loving on you when you were younger. Like I think
Yeah.
you were raised in New York, but is that where you were born?
No. So a lot of people don't know I was born actually in Florida, Destin, Florida. Most people know, but my father was in the military, so I was born on Fort Walton Beach, Florida. But I moved to Middle Georgia probably like around one. My mother was pretty young, and so her and my dad split, and she ended up, being in the Atlanta street and enjoying her young years. And my grandmother basically raised me for the most part. I guess full disclosure, my mom ended up going to prison around seven for about 4 years. So when she came out, that's when we moved to New York, and I was raised, the rest of my teenage years at that time. And I guess that's probably why I identify mostly with growing up there, because that was just like those prime years. Like
Mm.
it's the end of elementary school. I did junior high school there. I did some of high school there. I found community there. So yeah,
Is the reason why you were with your grandma because your mom went to prison?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, because she was in the street, so she was in the street first, and
Okay.
my brother, yeah. So
So I remember my mom went to prison in, was it 94? She definitely got caught up in that, what is it, 94 crime bill, that whole do 3 strikes and you're out situation, my mom.
mhm,
And so that was kind of like the start of kind of like because she was going through her addiction. And her going to prison kind of shifted a lot of our dynamics. But the difference was I when I hear about other people's story about their mom getting kind of caught up in the system, usually motherfuckers' grandma is cool. My grandma was not cool. She was not cool. She was fucking a bitch. So
mm,
in that, it put me and my grandmother in more kind of clash, because usually when my mom was out, I would kind of I I can kind of like ignore my grandma, who wasn't really she was the one in my family who wasn't affirming. So I can kind of,
mhm,
when my mom was affirming, so I could kind of not even deal with my grandma if I had to. But when my mom went to prison, it forced us in a situation where we had to deal with each other because I wasn't
mm,
old enough to be on my own. I was, 11, about almost, I hadn't transitioned just yet, but I definitely felt queer, and she was clocking it and just not fucking with it. And once I transitioned, it just made it worse. It made it worse. So she ended up putting me out, and I had to go to a group home when I was.
oh wow,
And
wow,
so well, I'm telling you this because I want to know, how did it kind of shift your dynamic? Did it shift your dynamic with your mom, like in regards to your relationship, or was it just kind of like the nail in the coffin?
No, I mean, I guess it just was, as I reflect back, it just kind of shows how I've always had to be her supporter, her strength. Um, Through my mom's incarcerations and through her addiction, it was never like no real judgment. Like I've just always had to be the level-headed one. Um, and I guess I contribute that to my grandmother and the household that I was raised in, because her husband was also in the military, so it was lots of structure. Again, I was in Middle Georgia. I'm talking about Warner Robins, Georgia, in the '90s. So I was one of three black kids in
Mhm.
elementary school. Um, and I don't know, I guess I just was instilled with this type of understanding and empathy and love, and I've just always had to offer that to my mother. To this day, it's still a struggle to this day, in which I'm always the adult. I'm always the responsible one to this day. So I don't think it shifted our dynamics. I think it gave me a forecast of what it was going to look like.
Mhm. Yeah, do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have a 22-year-old sister. I basically raised her in those early years because my mom, again, has had a very layered story. So yeah, I raised her for majority of those years, or at least was her go-to person.
Yeah.
Again to this day.
I'm glad that you were mature in that way. When I was younger, I was really angry. I was really angry with my mom because I had to step up and be like a parent to my younger siblings. I even got custody of one when I was 21. And but in the younger years, it was the dynamic of our relationship was kind of funny, my sibling, because my sibling was more like you in a sense of always had like this positive attitude towards my mom. Was like, it's gonna be all right. I was like, I was turning up. Like, why the fuck are you fucking up? Why did I would be going
Mhm,
in on her. It wasn't until years later that I started to give her a little bit more grace. And I think that grace came once I became a responsible adult and wasn't directly impacted by some of the decisions that she was making.
mhm,
And I think that allowed me to be able to be like, do I want to have a relationship with my mom that's always rooted in anger, or do I want to kind of grow now that I'm not in danger of her neglect? Because she never was abusive, but it was neglectful, and
uh-huh.
yeah, I always wondered.
And that's crazy because it's opposite for me, in which I was so graceful then. These days, I have strict boundaries with her, and I'm not as graceful. I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not as forgiving, but I have to protect my peace at this point, and I was not protecting myself all of those years. And I got hurt. I got abused all of those years, and and for the same reason why I stepped up for my sister, I just refused for her to go through the things I went through. I just refused. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about being angry. I didn't want my baby to go through the things that I went through. It just, and I can handle it. I don't know if she could.
Oh my God, I want to thank all of our new patrons this week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yay, 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 yay. So, not only are you helping to sustain this particular podcast, I also donate to other podcasts, I donate to other organizations. I have my finger on the pulse of the community. And I know a lot of grassroots organizations that are doing great work out here. So you're not only helping to sustain us, you're helping to sustain other people in a community because I put my money where my mouth is. That's just the kind of bitch I am. Community as fuck. So thank you. I really, really appreciate you. And if you have not become a patron, why have you not? You can donate as low as $1 a month. It doesn't matter. Anything helps. Please. Do I have to play Sarah McLachlan and show you puppies? Like, what do I have to do? Do I have to resort to what the white people do to get you to give them money? All righty. Anyway, thank y'all. And the Patreon and PayPal link is at the bottom. Back to the show.
Tell me about your coming out story. Like, how did you And not necessarily coming out, but how did, and because sometimes this can be a revelation to you before revealing it to somebody else.
Mhm.
How did your identity, your queer identity, kind of come to fruition? How did it reveal itself to you, or your experience with that?
So I have a lot of like sexual experiences in my childhood, and it's only as an adult that I've reflected back and tried to pinpoint like did that encourage the things I started to like in my life? Because there's nothing in my childhood that really points out to me that I should have liked either or. I just liked what I liked. Like I just was experimenting. I had both experiences. I
Hmm.
sucked titties when I was really young. Also lost my virginity when I was really young. Um, I don't know how I realized, but I always just liked girls more. Like boys were there and boys would give me attention, but like I would rather be mean to them or I'd rather bully the bully. You know what I'm saying? But and I would be the little punk of for the girl. I would hold the books for the girl. And I also knew to hold it a secret. I don't know where that was even taught. Like, for instance, my first real crush was my second grade art teacher, Miss Dent, and I'm still trying to find her on Facebook. Miss Dent, like if you could imagine like Karma Electra, the cheerleading captain or whatever, the art teacher, like she was that. You know what I'm saying, in the '90s. And I just was so infatuated with her, and I would do whatever it took for me to like be the good student, so I could be the get extra time with her or whatever the case was. And I would come home and fantasize with her. I would have my yearbook, and I would kiss her picture. I would kiss my doll, and I'm like, this is my girl. Like, and it makes me laugh every time I think about it because I still feel how intense those emotions were even as a kid, and those were not taught to me. Um, and again, I knew to hold it as a secret. I remember probably like fourth grade, I told my best friend, Amber, I took my doll and to her house and I was showing her my little routine. Like this is Miss Dent. This is how I interact with her. And she was like the only person that I felt comfortable telling, and she acted like it was normal. It wasn't until I told another friend of mine who then made it a big deal and like I knew at that moment, oh, so I actually really can't just be open with who I am. Like,
Mm.
she wants to tell on me, like, she wants to make this a exposure thing. Like, so I knew to kind of like, just hold my attraction to myself. But also in that time, who I was also showed. Like, I've always been masculine. I liked basketball. Um, but I also knew how to tread the fence. I know how to be on both sides. I know how to be respectable and tasteful. This was the Aaliyah era. So like, being able to be a tomboy was kind of acceptable. Um, it wasn't really until I moved to New York that I really even thought to express or look deep into my identity. When I was in Georgia, I was there up until fourth grade. So again, I was just thinking about Miss Dent. I was thinking about being a good child for my grandmother. I was just living my country life. There was nothing really to think about besides Miss Dent. Um, and celebrity crushes. But once I moved to New York, I really started finding girls and like really showing my masculinity. Like again, I had a female friend who I would carry her books and like she would treat me like a little boy who has a crush on her. She would pluck my lips and like do little flirtatious things. Like, and I was never taught this. It just was my natural way of reacting with girls. Um, and between sports and girls affirming that is kind of how I really stepped into that.
Mm.
My first girlfriend was seventh grade. And I mean, like relationship, sex, like all of that.
What
And
year? What year was this?
seventh grade was I don't know. I'm 38. I don't know. My girlfriend was really encouraging me to be my masculine self. Cause I even remember like this catalyst moment of having to go to church where her and her family really insisted that I dress like a girl, and I just was like so uncomfortable. And she really affirmed that, like, nah, I want you to be yourself, and if that means that you gonna come around, then that's that. And so, just those little small things really made it normal. It normalized how I was.
Mhm.
As far as in the home, again, I've always been my mother's son, her husband, her father. Like I've always been like that positive masculine. energy and presence for her, whether it be around the household, whether it be the responsible one, on whatever magnitude. I've just always had that role without having to speak it or ask for it.
Was she a young mom?
Yeah, she had me when she was about to turn 18. When I actually told my family, or when it was actually brought up, it's very peculiar. So for one, my mom came out to me first. I actually walked in on her and caught her in the act of frolicking with a female. There's a whole nother story with that. You invite me back for that story. But I just remember her telling me that, and just it made me a little emotional. I don't even know why, but maybe embarrassed. I just was tired of her doing a lot. But one day,
Oh, wait. You were embarrassed that you caught her, or just embarrassed about the
I think
conversation?
it's
What was
it's the fact
embarrassing?
that my mom she just does so much. It's just like, what are you doing, lady? Like, it's just I couldn't understand what type of person she was. Like, it was men here, females there, industry here. That's another segment to explain
A
the
wild child.
characteristics of my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, definitely the wild child. Baby of six, um, born in '69. My mom came home one day upset with me, probably like seventh grade, saying that my guidance counselor told her that I had an encounterment with a girl. I guess I don't know. I might have got caught kissing. I don't know if I had a hickey. It was something that he told her, and so she came home fake mad. I don't know what she was mad about. Because, like I told you, she just came out to me just years before that. I understand that. On top of the fact that the person who told him was a pedophile. Like,
Mhm.
my guidance counselor was also like getting the girls impregnated and kind of had like girls hanging around. So like I think that was like a vindictive move of his. But yeah, my mom was really upset with me. I don't even really know why. I don't even think she knew why, honestly. Um, but that didn't last. I think that she realized, especially as I grew into myself and in my body, she preferred me to be masculine. She was like, "I'll take the baggy clothes, cover that shit up. That's fine," because I was really grown into myself and I really could straddle the fence, and I would, and I would. Uh, so I didn't really have to come out in that aspect at all. I just kind of was me.
Mm. What about how did you come to accept the actual trans identity? How did that reveal itself to you?
I didn't know that what I was expressing was a trans identity until I joined the military and someone put language to it and put a representation to it, in which I'll work my way to that. I had already found community in New York when I was going to Hedrick Martin, Harvey Milk, and the Door, like these after school queer programs where they're voguing and things like that. So like I knew trans people, I knew trans women. I didn't know that that was also applicable to us. Um, so when I was in the military and got stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Fayetteville, I found my community of folks there. And my boyfriend at the time, actually, who walks Vogue Femme, was showing me ballroom clips of trans man realness. And I didn't know anything about these different categories at the time. But she showed me Marquise. And I'm like, come again? That's what? That's I'm like, that's me. Not even just the fact of being trans, like I highly identify with Marquise. Like that's my Aries brother. You know what I'm saying? Like it's my New York brother. Like our mindsets, his energy, like is dope. And like that was a representation that I needed to see. I'm like, nah, chill. While I'm out here feeling like I'm the special boy, I'm like immediately I identify with him, his swag, even just the fact that he could walk his life as a man. So it was my goal to that was my first goal upon leaving out the military, because at that time I couldn't transition, being that it was don't ask, don't tell in that 2006, 2007 era. So once I got out, 2009, that was the journey I was on, to figure out how do I start this, where do I begin, who do I talk to, and the social media platform at that time was Downing Link,
Yeah.
and all the trans folks, baby trans folks, the lesbian, everybody was mingling on there. And so I found a couple of folks who was on that journey or at least inquiring, and they invited me to my first support group called Tilt. trans individuals living the truth, which was
By
led by
Cheryl Courtney Evans.
absolutely. So that was my first gay mother that I identified. This is my first parental trans person, and it was at her meeting that I met my first trans guy, which was BT. Um, BT is a old school go-to mentor for the trans masculine community, and he's the person that put me on my journey, but also gave me my first shot. Um, Little plug, I just ran into him maybe like 2 weeks ago. Haven't seen him in years, probably a good 5 to 7 years, and just randomly ran into him at the most random place. That's divine timing and placement. So yeah, once BT put me on my journey, um, and Cheryl kind of taught us the way of being advocates. Now that you're here and you're in your identity, how can you impact the community, especially around HIV prevention and care. And so going to prides and tabling with her and going to panels and starting like speaking engagements, all of that started with Cheryl until.
That's what's up. I love that. Cheryl's been on the show. She was like one of my first interviews when I
Really?
was, yeah. I interviewed Cheryl in 2000 and probably around the time that you met her, around at 11, 12, somewhere around there.
Did she have a Shih Tzu dog, Paris?
I think so.
That was my dog that I gave to her.
Yeah, yeah, I got one of the last that I know of, one of the long form last interviews with Cheryl. Yeah, I love Cheryl. Cheryl was my girl. She was dope. I want to go back. You talk about just to kind of bring us in current issues. You talk about
Mhm.
being an army vet, and I recently my brother is in the Navy, and he just talked about how just what's going on now just makes him feel like really pissed off because the way he was taught as a military man is that you know what I'm saying. This is a sacred space. This is a sacred um bond that you have, especially if you actually go to war with motherfuckers. You actually go to
Mhm.
war. He was like, I went to war with people. I'm intense, almost getting bombed, and the fact that these motherfuckers is venerating this fucking podcaster and making it seem like he's the type of dude that we would fuck with. And then doing all this little petty shit around like shaving and this whole little kind of weird pushing out of people. How are you feeling as an army vet? How are you feeling about the state of affairs when it comes to the military now?
I feel like I already been kind of suppressed a lot of my military things that happen because the things that people are seeing military folks go through are stuff I had already been through. In fact, I was discharged from the military, and really because they were discriminating against me and had to find something. They found the smallest window of opportunity and overkilled me to the max. I'm talking about extra duty, took my rank, took my money, had to go to a program and chapter me up in 6 months. All because I failed my urinalysis from smoking weed one time.
Mhm.
All right. Shame on me. Shouldn't have smoked. Whatever. But I was in a rehabilitation program with folks who felt they've piss test a couple times, multiple times with other drugs and alcoholics being their wives, like intense stuff. And I'm like, oh, y'all just really wanted to get me up out of here.
Mm.
And so I was already going through abandonment issues. I already have those layers of trauma that I'm still having to face through. So like it's something that transitioning out of the military is a tough process. It's not like, oh, I'm out, drop my flag. It's a process to get back to a civilian. So honestly, I don't even really invest a lot of my energy over there. Like there's a lot of things that's happening in the world that I see it and I'm aware, but I can't allow it to impact my energy. Like
Mm.
energy harvesting is a thing. So I kind of refuse to kind of give into that. It's
Okay.
fucked up, but I don't put it past them.
No, no, no. I totally understand that. So how I was introduced to you was this amazing web series called Eden's Garden. And it probably around 10 years ago, like 2014, 2015. And it's a show that would kind of explore the dating experiences of transmasculine people, and the themes of the show that they talk about experience around same sex relationships, trans men dating cisgender gay men, HIV and AIDS, gay bashing, trans bashing, all there's these themes that are kind of enshrined in the show, and it was super, super groundbreaking. It was, and it was how I was introduced to you because you played a character called Papo.
Popular.
Yeah, and so uh, tell me about how you came into being a part of that, and just the process of you getting the role.
Thank you for asking that. Because Papa was a real person. That's me. Like that relationship, that character reflected my experience with that butch queen boyfriend that I had in that era. Seven and I were friends and met through ballroom. Excuse me. And one day we were chilling, and he was talking about he wanted to screenwrite, and he had just these different ideas. And I'm like, bro, one show that has really like been a pivotal staple for me was Noah's Ark, and it was a show that helped me through my relationship with me and my butch queen. Like he was Noah and I was Wade. Like it was some same dynamics, and I was like, it would be dope if we had like a trans masculine version of that. And so he kind of built upon that. Like again, like each character really is based off the people that were acting it almost. Some people changed out, but he really collected our stories to write. It's funny because I just so happened to research the YouTube channel because he took down our season for whatever reason or another. Our season disappeared. But what just appeared was my bonus scene that most people haven't seen. And then another episode that we did, the one that we did in the clinic, just popped back up on his YouTube, and it got a fire under my ass. I'm like, no, there's a lot of stories to be told. There's a lot of things I didn't even get to get out. Um, and so you're right. It was groundbreaking, and it was an amazing experience. I had to depart and go my separate ways for whatever reason or another. But it was a great experience and something that we've talked about doing a revamp or reboot, maybe. Don't know if that's going to actually happen, but I know that I'm actually working on my own projects to kind of tell more of my own personal story.
Yeah, it definitely was groundbreaking, and I think it was kind of just a tidbit before its time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit um, that it missed the mark in that kind of when we were having this kind of trans representation renaissance that people were actually throwing money to trans content. So I do
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you, despite it being sparing, despite the representation in media for the trans masculine identity, what have been some of your favorite trans masculine representation within media? Like, what has in your mind, in your memory, what are some super, super positively impactful media that you can remember?
I mean, of course, Marquise will always be the first person I think of for sure. And then a lot of the girls are doing a lot of amazing things, even currently. It's when you ask me that question, my mind starts flying in different directions because I want to go iconic and say, um, so iconic I can't even think of their names.
Hmm.
Or I even want to say, more currently where my community is on Legendary or all these different shows. Like, it's just a beautiful thing to see that we're not just, in our own silos or we're not underground. Like people see us and are embracing us and appreciating us. Um, but Marquise, I
The
think
first time I
Faith,
saw Marquise, he was in a documentary about aggressors.
aggressiveness, yeah.
Yeah, and then even some of like the trans men that would be on like Jerry Springer was so really really impactful to me. Um, yeah, and of course,
So yeah, Jerry Springer wasn't really my thing. Like I have seen those clips and things, but it really wasn't a thing I really got into, and it wasn't the type of representation I really really wanted to see. Even like more currently, who comes to mind? Ryan's. You got the Laves. Um, who else? I even throw myself in there. No, I haven't been on primetime TV, but like I've also been allowed the opportunities like Gap campaigns where I've been on the billboard in Berlin. I've been in the storefront in the Gap store. I've been in portrait books that were shot by world-renowned photographers. So, following the footsteps of these people that I admire, I throw myself also in that bunch. I think that's an honor.
Absolutely. Also, Courtney Ziegler, he's been on the show too. His
Mhm.
documentary, Still Black, was a really, really good early, the 2008 representation of the transmasculine experience, and it was positive and diverse. Yeah, I really, those are the things that I kind of remember. What are some things that you would want to see in regards to representation? What would be some stories? I know you have your own project, but it's coming up. But what are some stories that you're gonna kind of even try to explore that you want other people to explore? Because one of the things that I try to express to people is that we need many storytellers because one
Yeah.
story, even if it's really, really good, is not going to be enough. We need many stories told.
So I think that we've gotten the story where trans guys are present, we're stealth, we're blending in, we have regular lives. I want to get into the nitty gritty of sex and sexual expression and fluidity and the ability to express that and it be changing, um, and how that also impacts everybody else. It's not just about us, but also challenging other people's way of expressing their attraction to folks. Different talents that we have. There's a lot of talented guys who rap, who sing, who dance, artists like would love to like showcase us in that light. Families. There's a lot of fathers out here, whether they, were the one who carried or whether they are a chosen family or whatever. But like, we are some really positive father figures out here. Even for myself, people ask me, "Do you have kids?" Yes and no. I have two. My sister, and my mother. Like, what's the difference? I raised them. Like, um, and just really talking about the challenges and the triumphs of that. I think the other thing too, and I haven't quite figured out how to even introduce this, but a lot of people might not even know, but I identify with being somewhere on the neurodivergent spectrum. And I'm trying to figure out how to start those conversations and how to display that. Because as I'm getting older, I'm learning that a lot of my peers also identify in that way. And we're starting to figure out these different things that we've noticed about ourselves, end up on this spectrum. And like, how do we talk about that? Like, how do we normalize these things? How do we shift these narratives? Like, that's something I'm also on too.
Mm.
So
You just brought up. I think that that's important too. But I think everybody, particularly in the Black community, are really delving a little bit more deep into mental health and those type of nuances in our experiences. And I think the shame around mental health and then the overgeneralization that I remember when I was young, it was like, oh, that's white people shit. And I think the conversation is definitely getting more broad and deeper when it comes to us accepting that, yeah, we might need to come to grips with some of this shit too. And so I think that's powerful. You brought up sex, and I know another portion of your work is kind of shining a light on how HIV and AIDS affect the transmasculine um, experience. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that erasure is kind of affecting community?
yeah, you know, I didn't think it was a thing until I faced my own situations. So one part, I've had in the past in a relationship HIV scares, in which I've had to learn that not only my partner was cheating, but they might have been exposed to HIV, which then means now we both have to get tested.
Right.
Thankfully, that wasn't a situation where it was the unfavorable situation. But the fact that I'm in close proximity of that is the important conversation. Even then, it wasn't even dawning on me that this needs to be talked about. It wasn't until I was at Pride tabling with Cheryl, and a couple of tables down was Emory, and they were enrolling folks for clinical studies for HIV prevention. I'm sure they were like, do you want to join the study and get paid and learn about HIV? I'm like, and get paid? Yes, I do. Like, because you have a couple of visits in a week and you get money every time and a little snack. I'm in my early 20s. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I need that. HIV wasn't really a thing in my mind, but education is education, but that check is what got me in the door. But that first visit, they had me watch the informational thing, and I learned actually about HIV and how it impacts the body and just all these different things that it just shifted, my paradigm about, how real this is. And not only, again, how in close proximity I am to it, but I also learned that day that I had to be an advocate for myself of that. Because, when they asked me to join the study, they didn't know I was trans. They just saw a black man at Pride. And so once they knew I was, assigned female at birth, I no longer was eligible for the study. And I had to like advocate for that. I'm like, wait, hold up now, because I'm having sex. And I'm having sex with people who's having sex with people. Like, and I've had a situation where it could have been that. So it's like it didn't make any sense to me that why would I not be eligible for this if, what I'm saying, we're talking about folks who are vulnerable in these situations. You ask me how many sex partners, if I'm having condomless sex, I mean, every checkbox except for when I was born. I couldn't understand that. So that definitely kind of bookmarked that conversation for me and how important it was to really start it. Kind of fast forward, because that was before Eden's Garden and all that stuff. Once I moved to New York, my attention shifted to other things. When I came back to Atlanta in 2017, I linked back up with Emory University. They were actually reaching out, wanting to, see what was going on with the transmasculine community and see how they can support, how can they connect. And I'm actually trying to figure out where this story was going. Probably going to how I ended up, all the way in advocacy. Right. So Emory reached out wanting to see how they could support communities. From there, different opportunities were birthed. I was teaming up with the HVT HIV Trial Network on the protocol team, making sure that language was affirming to trans masculine or trans people, making sure that things that they weren't thinking about were considered in the studies. And so I think that, just really realizing that my voice in these rooms really made a difference, kind of like made me feel like I had that responsibility. On top of having a mentor like Stefan Wallace, rest in peace, who really affirmed, this position that I am and this access that I have, and the ability and opportunity to be able to share it and bridge that gap.
I want
And
to
that's
say
always my goal.
this before you explain a little bit more. I want to say this for the
Yeah.
audience. I think what people have to understand is when they're doing this research and they're doing this outreach and they're doing these surveys and asking these questions and really trying to get down to the nitty gritty of like prevention and who is not being seen, who is not um, at the table, a lot of times because of some of the statistics, people can be really tunnel vision in regards to how they think about HIV and AIDS. It's like soon as you think of that, just because of the stigma, they always are, oh, it's gay men. It's men who have sex with men, and it can blind them to other vulnerable communities. It can blind them to the trans women who may be affected. It also can blind them to trans men who can be affected in this situation. And so I remember us on this show, me, my two co-hosts years ago. I still have a trans masculine, but I had our previous trans masculine co-host, Z. We had to do this meeting with this research for University of Houston, this research project, and they were asking questions, and it just did not include the trans masculine, and we literally had to sit and talk to them about it. And
Mhm.
because of that blind tunnel, it's really, really that tunnel vision of some people who are not impacted by what we are impacted, and they're doing these surveys, they're doing the outreach. we have to be diligent in regards to how to advocate for ourselves and push
Mhm.
them to be inclusive. Like, and that's what happened. And they literally went, because it was early in the stages when they talked to us, they literally went back and changed their research questions to be inclusive of transmasculine people. And that
Mhm.
gave even more data of the transmasculine experience because we pushed them to do that. And they weren't even thinking about it or looking
Yeah.
for.
Marketing materials, it's just the certain things that include other populations will make the difference.
Yeah. Have you seen improvement? Have you seen improvement in regards to how researchers and even like big corporations like Gilead and how they are investing in the transmasculine demographic? Have you seen improvements from the time that you started to now?
Absolutely. Yeah. So in the last couple years, I've definitely have been navigating more in like the conference spaces and like being able to be in close proximity with those type of funders and things. And they're definitely being more intentional with reaching out and asking questions and knowing those small things to be inclusive, for sure. In the last year, I've transitioned out of public health more so as far as like my 9 to 5. I still do my own consulting and I still travel to conferences and things like that. But I'm not as connected as I was with working with institutes. Um, but even still in that, um, these different pharmaceutical companies have been reaching out, trying to figure out how can they support beyond even just giving us money. Like, what are the different programs that we need, or what are the different programs that they can initiate? For sure. So intentionality is a thing that's the biggest difference.
I want you to talk about there was an incident with you in 2019 with the police and you had to sue the New York City Police Department. I don't want you to rehash the incident, but in that scenario, what did you learn? Did you learn anything from that situation coming out of it?
It's a reminder that again, sure, people can argue me down about being trans, but in this world, I am a black man. Just a reminder. Because even at the moments when the cops knew I was trans, it didn't change nothing. I still was booked with the cis men. I still was hauled off to the boat, where it's basically a prison on the water with only cis men, living in the same conditions. Small subtle stuff like using the bathroom. Like, if we're in this open cell and there's just this one toilet here, how am I supposed to use the bathroom? How am I supposed to do that around these people and keep my identity to myself type thing? And to think about how dangerous that is. I don't care how real I am, how masculine I am, how hood I am. I don't care. They rape each other. They
Yeah.
will definitely rape. They will they will definitely try whatever negative thing just because is different, or because they can. I'm not, who wants to prove that. Again, don't feel like I learned anything. I think that again, these things I go through, they're not in vain. Like, they teach other people. They teach systems. So those systems are better now. My story being told, other people have things to identify. There's a slew of other trans guys who've gone through the same thing I've gone through. And so, just again having that visibility, for someone to understand and to empathize with you makes a difference. I think that's another conversation that's not really had. Um, but folks that are firmly incarcerated, folks, and trans folks, and trans masculine folks, like, it's such a layered conversation.
When we think about like Kai Peterson, when we think about there's just so many incidents when we just in my mind exploring that kind of like the double-edged sword of visibility because I do feel like because of our that what we're seeing now in the public discourse, I think is a backlash towards the positive visibility that we have had for the past 10 years. And because I just remember that time we were such a non-entity when it comes to public discourse and politics. We were kind of the little T of the LGBT, and in the early 2000s and the 90s, we were living it. But as far as like the big public discourse, they weren't fucking thinking about us. And so now for it to kind of we like almost public, us and immigrants is going neck and neck for being public enemy number one. And so what do you think about that in regards to like visibility and the kind of like the give and take of that? Like, is that
again double-edged sword?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I just because I can see it's nothing but positive in the sense of, yes, other people know that we're not alone, but that also puts us in the spotlight for us to be attacked. So we can't even run away from it in this regards. Because even now, like with them trying to make us seem like we're terrorists, trying to put us associated with fucking fake ass groups like Antifa. It reminds me of kind of like the Red Scare of communism back in the day.
Paraphernalia, like trying to make it about bathrooms and things like that. Yes, I mean, like you kind of already summed it up with it's a double-edged sword. Like it's also dangerous. Like it's great that I'm visible and I'm here, but also I don't always know how people feel about that. And in a sense, that gives them the upper hand. And so it can be a very dangerous and scary thing sometimes. It's liberating and empowering, but it is dangerous.
Is it worth it?
Unfortunately. Absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine living my life any other way. Like I'd rather fight and be happy than, to just exist and be miserable. That was never an option. So much that when I was a kid and they would ask like, how do you picture yourself in 20 years from now? I couldn't do that because I didn't know what that looked like. And I just refused to picture myself presenting in a way that just didn't feel affirming to me at all. So I kind of just capped myself. I capped what my future would look like. I didn't even look that far.
I think I agree too. I think it's worth it. I think that similar to like the civil rights movement, similar to all the fights that our ancestors had to fight, there's gonna be some battles. There's gonna be some time when it's fucking heated and you kind of going at it, and there's gonna be, unfortunately, casualties in wars like this. It's gonna be some things that happen, and I think, but it's gonna come, if we keep going, it's gonna come to a point where we're in good times. I just think that this is one of the times when it's kind of like, they seem like they got the upper hand, but they don't. We on the right side of history.
Yeah. Oh, facts. I was waiting for you to say that part. History. Like we're actually making history. This will be in textbooks.
Gimme euphoria, more than peace of mind. It's the joy and space to change the tide. Gimme euphoria, more than peace of mind. It's the joy and space to change the tide. Gimme you the feeling and the high you never come down from. Whoa.
What is bringing you euphoria this week? It could be something small. It could be something big. What has been bringing you joy and making you happy this week?
I have been in heavy like Halloween or autumn, fall spirit. Just like this
Got
change.
your fall clothes on. It looks like fall colors.
Yes, and I love the vibe of it. I love how vibrant the colors are. I love just seeing nature change, transformation. And so I've been decorating with like little Halloween stuff, and I've been carving pumpkins. I did my third one yesterday. So that's been bringing me joy.
Are you baking the seeds? Are you baking the seeds?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Everybody asks me that, but no, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I don't know what to do.
Put it on a baking sheet and put some salt and pepper on it. That's it.
And then what? And then eat it?
And you bake it. And eat it. Yeah.
I'm good on eating it.
Eating pumpkin seeds? It's good.
But yeah, that and self-care. Like, I also am a holistic healer. I, practice massage therapy. but I also get massages. Sometime 3, 4 in a month. And so I've kind of really been on that. My body's been needing attention, and so I have not been ignoring it.
Oh, I love that. Recently, for me, what's been bringing me euphoria? I live in an apartment complex, and there is this, uh, there is a bunch of stray cats around the fucking apartment complex, and there is this one little sweet, little, small, kind of like a little runt little cat, and she never lets me. She follows me, but she never lets me touch her. Like if I'm out, if I come out my apartment, she'll be sitting there and she'll follow me and da da da. But if I try to reach out to her, honey, she will get away real quick. So even when I feed her, she'll let me like put some food by her, but she won't let me touch her. Baby, this week she let me scratch her little back. And
Okay.
I was like, ooh, she let me touch her. I had walked
Yeah.
up on her, and usually if I walk up on her, she'll run. But she was sleeping, and I kind of creeped up on her where she couldn't hear me coming. And instead of me like touching her, I was like, hey. And instead of when she woke up, she was like, okay, it's you. I recognize you, but what you about to do? And I touched
Okay.
her, and she was like, okay. And then her little eyes little squinted like it felt good. I was like, oh, she's let me touch her
See,
finally. And it's
building
been like a
trust.
year.
That's beautiful. Building trust. Yeah.
Yeah. She was so cute. She's so cute. So I gave her some more extra treats just for being nice this week. So that's what brought me euphoria. Thank you for joining me. It's been a while since we've been trying to make it work, and we finally got to make it work. I have admired you from afar. I think you're dope, and I just even we didn't get to talk about it, but I remember another film you did, Spot, that was a short film, but it was old school. It was,
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
and when you even look at it's a short film that it was India Moore in it. It was Shanice in there. It was a couple of people in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure y'all check that out. And I'll put all those links in the bottom. But I just have admired your work and admired your swag, and I appreciate you spending some time with me. Can you tell the people where they can find you?
Yes, no, but thank you again for inviting me here. It's been great vibe, great conversation. Hopefully maybe come back so I can really dig into some of those interesting stories. But I'm on all platforms as D Jamel Young. Instagram is D Jamel the boss. So that's DJAMELDABOSS. I'm out here. Reach out.
Yeah, and I'll put all of those links in the bottom. Make sure y'all follow Jamel. And yeah, thank y'all for watching, and we will see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Hey.
The best way to support is to engage with the content. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Another way to support, if you got a couple of dollars, become a patron.
And if you can't do any of that, you can at least follow us on social media, where you'll get our random hot takes and just us sharing all the people and things that we love that is Black, trans, queer, centered. Yeah, come check us out.